Hi, I'm Raya Zakic here in the Film Lab, and today we're talking with renowned Disneyologist, Dr. David Zikovitz. David, thanks for coming.
Thank you, Ryan, for having me.
So David, you're a Disneyologist. You've been studying Disney films for the better part of your life. What are some of your favorite Disney films?
I grew up with sort of the re-releases of Disney classics in the 80s, but then when The Little Mermaid came out, it was called the Disney Renaissance, and that was when people started to become interested in new Disney films again, and that, I guess, is when my personal interest peaked. I would say Beauty and the Beast is their masterpiece.
Right. What is it about the Disney Renaissance films that kind of make them so great?
They went back to their roots with The Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast.
You mean like classic fairy tales?
They were dealing with classic fairy tales, and then they brought back sort of a musical element, which wasn't even as pronounced in the original films. They had this golden egg of the songwriting team of Howard Ashman and Alan Menken. Howard Ashman, who wrote all the lyrics, and Alan Menken, who wrote the music. And suddenly people were leaving the theaters singing the tunes. You know, I'm sure you remember singing Under the Sea after you left that theater in 1989.
So it seems like a lot of the Disney animated films of this renaissance that you mentioned tend to kind of focus on female characters.
For the most part, a lot of fairy tales do have female protagonists, and part of it is that they want to experience more and experience life, and they're trapped by their parents or by their circumstances or by their evil stepmothers, their merfathers, and go out and discover who they truly are. And something that you learn about Disney, if something does well, they're going to cash in on whatever it is that they're doing right.
Right.
At that moment, a lot of little girls were growing up, and they were at exactly the right age, and Disney, of course, marketed it like crazy, and of course created their Disney princess brand.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They just kind of grabbed a handful of their princesses,
yeah.
Many of them from that era.
The ones from that era are Ariel, Belle, and Jasmine. They continually add more to the collection. For example, Princess Tiana has been added to the Princess collection. And a few years ago they had Enchanted, and they were going to add Amy Adams' character to the Princess collection and realized they would have to pay royalties to use her likeness.
Earlier today, you were fortunate enough to see Disney's latest animated feature film, Tangled. Can you tell us a little bit about Tangled?
I'm kind of on the fence about Tangled, and for quite a few reasons. Tangled was originally titled Rapunzel, the girl with the long hair in the tower. But they changed the name to Tangled because after the perceived failure of The Princess and the Frog, they thought nobody wants to see princess movies anymore, so let's turn this into a crazy adventure 3D comedy called Tangled. Walking to that movie theater, it didn't make me feel any less gay, so I was really happy when I heard that Alan Menken was back doing the music for Tangled. It wasn't really very good.
No?
The music. I was really disappointed. None of the songs really seemed to fit into the movie. I think where something like Beauty and the Beast succeeded, in fact, the lyricist for Beauty and the Beast was actually the executive producer of the whole film, Howard Ashman. His idea was to make this Disney film with music throughout that wouldn't feel out of place, and incidentally ended up on Broadway. And it worked so well. When people burst into song throughout the film, it feels like they're supposed to be singing, whereas in Tangled, it's tagged on. It's tangled up with the rest of the film.
Also this week, a press release came out that basically said that Disney wasn't going to do any fairy tale movies anymore. They're no longer going to be making animated films about fairy tales. Do you think that maybe that's a good move, that maybe they can come up with something new?
Well, there are two answers to that question. The first of which is that I read that, in fact, yeah, the press release is false. It erroneously reported that the Disney fairy tale is a thing of the past, but I feel it is important to set the record straight that they are alive and well, and Disney will continue this week with Tangled, a contemporary retelling of a much-loved story. And then they say we have a number of projects in development with new twists that audiences will be able to enjoy for many years to come, which doesn't really state that they're doing fairy tales anymore or that they're not. They seem to have big, huge, sweeping reactions to one film doing poorly, and it's always been the case where whenever, you know, a person had a sort of singular vision and was allowed to do what they wanted to, that's where they succeeded. I mean, in the case of Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast, those were projects that were sort of taken on by one person, and this film had, I don't know how many directors attached to it at different points. I think
two directors were credited.
Two directors were credited, and there were two different directors before that. I think they had it sort of taken out of their hands.
We're very happy to have had Dr. David Zikovitz, renowned Disneyologist, with us today to talk about Disney animated films and what he thought of Tangled. Thanks so much, David.
Thank you, Ryo. It's been a pleasure.
No, the pleasure's ours.